So welcome everyone. Welcome to the introduction to the Livestream Practice Growth Program. My name is Mark Powers. I'm the president of Atticus. On the call with us, you have Steve Riley. Who is a shareholder at Atticus, probably one of the more brilliant coaches you'll ever run into, and an extremely accomplished attorney on top of that. So we're lucky to have Steve with us today. Also in the background here, you'll see in the video if you're watching, you have Denise Gomez and Daniel Struna, who are client service directors at Atticus. So everyone here is here to answer your questions and talk about the Livestream Practice Growth Program, which we're very, very excited about. So our three goals today are determine whether you're qualified for the Practice Growth Program. So find out if it's something that not only is a fit for you, but it's going to be the right fit for you. And then also to give you a sense of what might be available in the Practice Growth Program. And we would suggest for you that this is going to be a very interactive conversation. So you'll be doing exercises. You have opportunities to ask questions. So keep a pencil and paper handy, take lots of notes, and we'll get right into it. Steve, do you want to talk a little bit about, do you want to introduce Atticus to the community?
Sure, thank you, Mark. So welcome everybody, and thanks for being here, and thanks for the investment of time. So Atticus was founded in 1989. Mark is one of the founders, and it really has worked for the past 30 plus years around one particular concept, which is helping great attorneys build great law practices. And so at the end of the day, that's really what we're about. So the strategic concepts, the core tools and strategies are all about helping you build a great practice. How we do it varies depending on who you are and where you're at in the practice, and that's why Denise and Daniel are so critical to our company. Because all of our programs and workshops, the webinars like this, are really designed to help you think through how to streamline the management of your practice, increase your profitability, take more time off, and at the end of the day, reduce stress and balance your personal and professional life so you have a greater sense of control over your life. The different ways, the different people that we work with vary, but the bulk of our clients are all solo and small firm attorneys. Right now, we work with over 500 solo and small firms throughout the US and Canada. We also work with some larger firms that we work with the leadership team, the managing partners. We have alliances with two bar associations, the Ohio Bar and the Illinois Bar Associations, that's strategic alliances. Plus, we work with private organizations such as Wealth Council and Elder Council with their members. And where do we work? Well, we work from the moment you decide to really create your own solo and small firm, the point in time you decide to sell it. And that's one of the things that we really encourage, is that you work towards building your law firm to sell it.
So that's
how we do that depends on who you are, where you're at, what your growth, what your net, what your goals are. Sometimes we do it through webinars like this, which are basically free content or more information about us before you commit. Other times it's subscription services like Practice Growth series, which we do for our clients. Other times it's live workshops, where we do workshops such as Double Your Revenue or How to Build Your Law Firm to Sell. And then we have probably the heart and soul of our program, which is the coaching programs. And we provide coaching programs from the Practice Growth Program, which is what we're here to talk about today, the Dominate Your Market program. And in some cases, our clients need more tailored services, and they'll work with our coaches one-on-one, which they basically hire one of our practice advisors as a consultant to their firm to help them coach them through whatever issues that they're having. Now, some folks are just starting off, and they're not really at a point where they can invest in tailored coaching services or in the Dominate Your Market program, or most importantly in the Practice Growth Program, and they might be more interested in improving their time management and rainmaking skills, and they might go into something like the Rainmaker program. And that really depends where you're at and how things, what your goals are. And that's why, once again, Daniel and Denise are so critical. Their job is to help you figure out what's the best fit for you inside the Atticus community. one of the more innovative things that we've done in the past 2 years is we've also started a hiring process that's called Build Your Great Team. And so this is really predominantly available only for Atticus customers, where we go out and help you find, recruit, and retain talented employees for your law firm, such as paralegals, associates, or what have you. And then we have some of the terrific knowledge products that Mark and Sean McNallis have contributed to the company and contributed to the legal community, such as How Great Lawyers Become Great Rainmakers, the book on hiring and firing, which is called Hire Slow, Fire Fast. And of course, probably the best-selling book in the legal industry on time management is Time Management for Attorneys. So depending where you're at, we have different levels of services to support you.
So, Steve, great job on that.
So Mark, you might be, so sorry, go ahead.
So great job on that, Steve. And so if you're okay, Steve, I want to transition to the why we're here today, if that's okay. Could you hear me, Steve? Mike, can you hear me? Can anyone
Yes,
hear
Mark,
me?
we can hear you.
I can hear you, Mark.
Okay. I'm not sure. We lost Steve's voice for a second.
I'm
So, okay, great. Thanks, Steve. So I want to transition to why you're here. We're going to make an assumption that if you're here, that you've done some good work up to now, that you're a talented practitioner, that you've done a great job of adjusting to the crisis, meaning you went virtual quicker than you probably thought you could. You probably got your PPP loan in place. You've got your team being productive in a remote environment. You've done some really great work. And the question is, what's next? And if you're like most people or like most attorneys, really what you want to do is stabilize and grow the firm in a way that gets you more free time, gets you better clients, puts not only a great team around you, but a high-performing team. And at the same time, we can increase your cash flow, income, profitability for the firm. So we're assuming if that's where you are, one of the places that you're looking at doing that with Atticus is the Practice Growth Program. And one of the things we want to do today is distinguish the Livestream Practice Growth Program from the Classic. And ideally, what you'll notice is the Practice Growth Program, the two has a Venn diagram, and the two cross over. And at the core of it, you'll do the same thing. You'll work with the nation's top law firm coaches and facilitators. You're going to master the key business skills: productivity, time management, staffing, cash flow, marketing. And you're going to join a unique community of growth-minded attorneys. You'll be inspired. You'll have a ticket to one of the best national and small firm law firm conferences in the country. And you're going to grow powerfully, and you're going to expand your trusted relationships. So that'll happen no matter what. It's a question, do you do it Classic or Livestream? Steve, do you want to talk about Livestream versus Classic? Mike, you'll tell me if he's still muted, which I'm assuming he
can't hear you right now. No,
say that again, Mike?
we still can't hear Steve.
Okay. Can you chat with Steve just so he knows?
Yes.
Oh, he does know. Steve, do you know? Okay. Yeah, we're still muted. So let's talk a little bit between the Livestream and the Classic. The Classic is what we've been doing for quite a few years, where you'll be on site in person at quarterly sessions in a live learning environment. You'll have direct personal contact with your peers and with your facilitators and your resource advisors, and you'll do some travel with that, right? When you can travel, because right now in most states you're not traveling. So when you do travel, there's an interesting benefit to it. You do have more time for planning and thinking about working on your goals. With the live stream version, you don't meet just quarterly. You have more frequent contacts. We meet monthly, working on your practice. We have a lot of support and accountability and direction in between your monthly meetings. And you have a lot more flexibility and convenience. You're not going to travel, so you're going to save that time, you're going to save that money, and you're also going to reduce any of the risks that are currently out there for people. Denise or Daniel, do you want to say anything about the difference between the classic and the live stream?
I think you covered it pretty well, Mark, but the things that Daniel and I hear a lot with the classic is, I have family, I have children, they're in soccer, they're in ballet, and I like to go to their performances, I like to go to their games. And so I think that the live stream is offering them an incredible option, all of the same great coaching tools, all of the same great coaches, and all the materials and access to Atticus without the travel. And so they're not away from their families and their children. And I think that's one of the big things that I'm starting to hear from people.
So the other thing I would say, Daniel, did you want to add anything?
Nope, I think that's great.
Mark, I don't know if I've been reconnected or not.
Yeah, you are, Steve. We can hear you.
Perfect. I've got this great big thunderstorm on top of me, and so I'm having a little connectivity issues. So one of the things that, one of the other benefits, so the pro and con, I think at the heart of this for a lot of people about the distinction between the classic and the live stream is one of the great benefits about the classic program is the face-to-face interaction with your peers. However, one of the amazing benefits about the live stream program is the money that you're going to save, quite frankly, the money that you're going to save on the travel will basically cover the cost of the live stream program. So by the time you figure out what you have to invest for travel, hotel, being out of the office, that amount of money, if you just take it, actually will cover your investment in the Practice Growth Program. So it's a win-win for the person that is not looking to travel and is looking to reduce any form of risk from travel and also want to maximize time at home and maximize time at office. So it's probably the major distinction for me between the two programs.
Yeah, and what I want to reinforce with that, Steve, for everyone, that this is for most people, most law firms, this is the Practice Growth Program itself is the most extraordinary coaching program you could be in, regardless of live stream or classic. It is incredibly powerful about cleaning up the messes that may be there, getting you to a speedy recovery, building in and creating stability, and then ensuring growth, healthy growth, so that your firm is not only resilient and strong and agile on the other side of this crisis, and 2020, 2021, that it's delivering that freedom, that independence, and the control. You will not find a better program with better facilitators in the country. So it's just the options. Steve, do you think it's valuable just to give them a sense of the pricing on the live stream versus classic?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's go ahead and do that.
So the live stream, the investment for the live stream is a $1,000 upfront investment to get you started, and then it is $9.95 a month to work in the program. And Steve and I will talk about the guarantees on that and the results you get for that. But that's your investment for that particular program, and it is monthly. And at any point that it's not creating value, you can stop. This isn't one of those companies that you have to sign a 2-year contract or anything like that. We are all focused on value, value, value. And if you're not getting value, step away. The classic is similarly priced. It just has a little bit more upfront. Now, you got to recognize with the classic, we're going to be doing in-person, hotel costs, travel cost on Atticus' side, travel cost on your side. So it's $2,000 for the initial investment. And then like the live stream, it's $9.95 a month. So they're both comparable in that way. And you'll see on the website the difference in the pricing. Steve,
One of the other, sorry,
I'm sorry, Steve. No, go ahead.
one of the other differences in the pricing is one of the things we encourage you to do is to invite your team leader or key assistant to attend the programs with you. The difference on the price on the live stream is it's $295 a month for your key assistant, our team member, or whatever team members you want to add. And on the classic, it is $595 a month. So it's about $300 differential per month as well.
Great job, Steve. And so Mike, just in the background, if possible, I would like to transition the presentation to Steve, because we're going to now walk you through, go ahead and do that if you can, Mike. We're going to walk you through the foundations for growth, and we're going to do an exercise with you.
Okay, Steve, you're the presenter now, so you can share your screen. Great.
Okay, thank you. Now, you just have to work with me for a second to make sure I'm sharing the right screen. Give me a second. Sorry about that. I want to make sure I'm going to the right. Perfect. Mike, I want to check with you. Can you see the right screen, the foundations for growth?
Yes.
I see it. You got it.
Terrific. Thank you. So one of the most important things to understand when you look at growing your law firm is that your legal skills are the foundation of your practice. And I just want to talk about one element of this. And one of the things that people don't, a lot of people when they start working with Atticus don't appreciate is that, you know, I practice law for over 25 years and still am actively licensed and still will occasionally get involved in cases. Now, my legal skills are one of the ways that I service and take care of clients. However, to actually grow the practice, what I have to develop are business skills. So as you think about growth, you have to remember that there's a major distinction between legal skills and business skills. And sometimes as lawyers, we collapse in thinking they're one and the same. They're not. They're completely two different skill sets. So when you look to grow your practice, the four critical skills that you have to focus on to grow are what we call the foundations for growth. So first and foremost is time management. So let me just compare and contrast this. If you're doing $500,000 of gross revenue right now, and you're netting maybe $150,000 to $200,000 in income, the most impactful thing for you, if you're going to go from $500,000 to $150,000 to $200,000 income, you say, gee whiz, I'd really like to make $500,000 a year. Then your gross will probably have to be about 1.4 to 1.6 million, somewhere in that neighborhood. To get there, your time management skills have to change. So you have to leap, you have to move your time management skills. To get to that level, you have to move your client development skills. You have to learn how to recruit and get better clients in the door. You have to find how to build a better team. If you go from $500,000 to 1.5, you're probably going to go from 3 to 4 staff to probably 6 to 8 staff, maybe 12 to 15, depending on the type of practice and what your average revenue per case is. And then cash flow and profitability are critical. So if you're going to grow, you need to understand how the numbers work in your practice and how to think through, okay, if I'm at this point, I want to go to that point. And these critical foundations for growth are really the bedrock of the curriculum, strategic concepts, and thinking tools inside the Practice Growth Program. Whether it's classic or whether it's Livestream, doesn't matter. These are the core curriculum. So over the past 30 years, working with all the different law firms, all the different lawyers that we've worked, we've really honed these concepts down to help you think differently about how you think about your practice. But at the end of the day, we have to remember as lawyers, while we're committed to serving clients, at some point in time, our legal skills are done. I mean, we can improve them, we can make them a little bit more nuanced, but you know, I've done both plaintiff's work, trial work, estate planning work, and elder law work. And at the end of the day, I could draft a really great pleading, I could argue a really great motion, but if I don't have a great case that I've brought in and a great team to work up that case, it probably won't matter how well I drafted that motion or how well I argue the case. A bad case is a bad case, a bad client's a bad client. A terrible team's a terrible team. So those are distinct from your legal skills. So when you think about this, one of the biggest challenges that we have as lawyers, or all lawyers have in this, is really starting to take their lawyer hat and put it to the side and put their business owner hat on and say, okay, I know I didn't learn the business skills in law school. I know I didn't learn how to grow a law firm. That's my big frustration, my big challenge. I know I don't know how to find and manage people. How do I do that? And that's really what we built the Practice Growth Program for, is to help lay down those foundations and build critical business skills for you. Mark, Denise, Daniel, anything you guys want to add to that before I move on?
Denise, Daniel? So for me, Steve,
Yeah, I covered it great.
For me, Steve, the thing that I would say for everyone on this call is no matter where you are, the time management skills, the marketing skills, the team building skills, the cash flow development skills, whatever you have are insufficient to get us to the next level, whether it's doubling your revenue, doubling your income, getting you more freedom and control. They will be insufficient to do that. And so that's why this upgrade for all of us is critical in this phase.
That's well said, Mark, because if you knew how to do it, you'd be doing it. That's the obvious truth about it. If you knew how to do it, you'd be doing it. You don't. And so that's why the investment into these skills and learning these skills are so critical.
Yeah, and the only other thing is I don't know if you can see my hand, but you're watching this. What we see mostly is firms start to grow, and then they get into a level of complexity that it gets frustrating. They can't keep the people hired. They can't get enough business in. They're focused on production, and they start dropping back down. And what Steve is brilliantly talking about here, unless you get these foundational systems in and built and structured, rephrase that, when you get them in, it's a platform so that we can grow and grow healthy and grow to a really strong level for you. So Steve, let's take them through an exercise if you're okay with that.
Sure. So Mike, why don't you go ahead, if you haven't already, let's go ahead and post the 4 foundation scorecard.
It's yeah, it's in there. So for everyone, in your chat box or in your attachments, you'll see the 4 foundation scorecard. Click that, open it up, and it's a fillable document. We want you to work through this exercise with us.
This is in the handouts section of your GoToWebinar dashboard.
So
Thanks, Mike.
I'll give you a second to download that or print it out, whatever you want to do.
And if that proves too complicated, just make notes consistent with where Steve is taking you on this exercise.
And we'll just spend about 15 minutes, more or less, working on this exercise together. And the point of this exercise is twofold. Number one, to give you some value out of the investment of time that you spent with us. And number two is to give you a little bit of a sense what, just a slight, like a whiff of what might be available for you inside the Practice Growth Program from a thinking perspective. So hopefully you have that down. I can't see the chat box, but I'm going to go ahead and go forward. If you need a few more minutes, just chat, let Mike know. He'll interrupt me and let me know. So with that, hopefully you have this, and I'm going to suggest you do something very simple. Number one, I'm going to suggest that you put your name in this and today's date, July 1st, 2020. A lot of our clients, we've had clients for, I did a Zoom workshop earlier today, and I looked around the room and I realized that I had clients that had been with the company for 20 years doing some of these exercises. So we have people with us for a long period of time, and they like to go back and look at what their thinking was before. So if you go ahead and date it, you know. So we're going to do a brief exercise, and I'm going to do about a 1-minute sprint per exercise. So what we're going to do is look at your time management right now. And so we're going to ask you in the upper left-hand corner, I'm going to ask you what's working about your time management. And then we're going to move to the upper right-hand corner, so we'll go left to right, and we're going to talk about what's not working about your time management. So I'll give you an example, then I'll give you a 1-minute sprint to work on that. So for the example, what's working? Well, what's working is I'm planning my day. I come in, I figure out the top 3 things I have to do, I work out my day, and I plan it. My biggest challenge, what's not working, is that I get interrupted constantly during the day by myself and by other people. I interrupt myself by checking email, looking at my phone, and doing other things. So I'm just using those two as an example, so I'm just going to give you 1 minute to put in what's working for you on your time management and then what's not working for you on your time management. So with that, please go ahead and go. You've got 1 minute.
Steve, while they're working on this, are you okay if I dropped in some other examples of
Please.
what's working? So I love the example that Steve gave you, because if you're doing that, you're getting your focus together first thing every day and planning out your day. That's incredibly powerful. The other thing that may be working for you is that you're blocking out time on your calendar for production, for marketing, for emails, blocking out time for the emails. That would be something that's working. Another thing that could be working for you is that you're doing a brilliant job of managing your inbox, your emails, meaning that you're running it to zero on a regular basis and you're not using it as a to-do list, an open to-do list. The Practice Growth Program is very powerful at getting you to zero emails on a regular basis. So those are some of the things that could be working. You could be very good at managing your interruptions. Some of the challenges you could have is exactly the opposite, right? I'm interrupted on a daily basis. I'm not getting home on time. I'm working weekends. I'm not focusing and recovering, getting burnt out. I'm not working on the things that I value. So you could have any of those. What Steve's looking for, what's your biggest challenge right now that's in the way of growing the firm?
So I'll give you about 15 seconds to collect final thinking on that. Great. So let's move to the next box, which is new clients. If you're going to grow your practice and you're going to enhance your own profitability in your law firm, one of the critical elements to that is really getting new clients. So new clients could actually equate to new cases. You know, like I said, I did plaintiff's law. There's a massive difference in the plaintiff's business between a case with clear liability, fantastic damages, and a great insurance policy versus poor liability, terrible, you know, like poor injuries, like hard to prove injuries, like a slip and fall or whiplash, and no coverage. So a lawyer that gets 100 fantastic cases will make far more money than a lawyer that gets 100 terrible cases. We all know this. But it's how you get those cases in the door. And some of the most brilliant trial lawyers in the world are brilliant because they've selected and tried fantastic cases, not because they selected and tried horrible cases. So when you look at this, what is working right now for you on getting new clients? What are you doing? It might be that you're getting referrals from your past clients. As a rule of thumb, I like to see about half of your referrals coming from past clients. That's how I know you've done a good job. That's how I know that you've provided great customer service. About 50% of your referrals are coming from past clients. And then think about your biggest challenge. Your biggest challenge might equate to time management. You don't have time to market. You're not sure how to market. You don't know what to say, when to say it, how to say it. You don't want to look like Ned the Head Ryerson from Groundhog Day, you know, the insurance sales guy there. You know, it may be that you're trying to not look salesy, or you're not even sure how to market. So I'll just give you 30 seconds right now. What's working as far as getting new clients in the door? What's not working?
So I'll drop in some examples while we're doing that, Steve, if it's helpful. In the marketing world, what could be working, and Denise or Daniel, feel free to jump in, but what we see when people, if things are working, is they know who their referral sources are. They've got a list of them, and they've got them very, they keep them in a prominent place. There's no guesswork. They almost have an inventory of referral sources. They know who they are. They're clear on the things they're going to communicate when they connect with their referral sources. What's working is they're getting business in the door on a regular basis. That's working. That they're asking for referrals and learned how to do it in an ethical way. That's working. Denise, Daniel, anything that's working, not working that you see with most people?
Something I see a lot or hear a lot from attorneys on in terms of biggest challenges is they don't have a system in place for tracking where their clients are even coming from. So they have no way of identifying how to target and find more of those good clients. So a lack of a tracking system.
And another one that I see in here is they track, but they don't stay in touch with that referral source. So it could be, yeah, I know, that Joe sent me 5 great clients, but I never sent him a thank you card. And now I don't really hear from him very often. And I'm like, well, I wonder why, because you're not top of mind. And so it's really challenging for some attorneys. And it goes back to time management because they can't find the time to stay top of mind with their referral sources.
Perfect. So we'll go ahead and give you another, let's say 15 seconds to wrap up your thinking here. So what's working about getting new clients and what's not working? Terrific. Let's go to the next exercise, which is profitability. So one of the things that we always have to keep our eye on, and it's usually an uncomfortable topic for us as lawyers to discuss, is the profitability of our law firm, what our profit margins like, and how are we doing. So one of the things I'm going to have you do for a moment is just think about what's working about your profitability right now. Whatever that may be. It may be that you are profitable. You can just say, well, I'm profitable, I'm making money. I feel comfortable about that, so you can go do that. And then we have to have you move to your biggest challenge. And the biggest challenge might be that you don't understand how your profitability works. You don't understand what your profitability levers are. You don't understand what are your most profitable cases. You don't understand what are your least profitable cases. You don't understand how to leverage to improve the profitability of your firm. Maybe that you don't have any profitability goals. You may have income goals, a salary, but you don't have profitability goals. Mark, anything you want to add on to that before I have them work for a few seconds on this exercise?
No, that's great. We can talk about the working examples and not working examples, why they're filling it out.
Okay, great. So with that, let's go ahead and have you start picking out what's working on the profitability and what's not working, your biggest challenge on the profitability side.
So, Steve, some of the things I see there not working is shareholders that collect revenue, pay expenses, and then whatever scraps are left over become their dividends, their distributions. And that doesn't work. That we don't have a planned focus on profitability. We don't have what might not be working is we don't have a really strong system of getting money in the door. We're very good at producing. We're not very good at collecting. Maybe one of our biggest things not working is we don't have a very strong cash flow position right now. Even though we got the PPP and a few other things, we don't have a very good cash flow position. Thing that could be working is, listen, the PPP worked and we've got a good cash flow position. We regularly stay in communication with our clients if they get off track on collections or settlements. Denise, Daniel, anything you see around profitability that people particularly working or not working?
I think something that you touched on, Mark, already, which is missing the distinction between profit for the firm and the shareholders and the salary for the legal work that they do as a legal technician, and really mixing those together. And so having no clarity at all on what their profitability even is, because they're missing a distinction there. And kind of, like you said, whatever's left over at the end of the month, they just consider theirs without really putting it in a particular category. So I think that's probably the biggest thing I see.
I think one of the things I hear a lot when we're talking, I'll say, well, what were your revenues last year? What were your revenues? So, and they have no idea. They don't have an answer. Some of them might know what they paid themselves. They may not. And so it's really not, then they have a CPA and they have the bookkeeper, but they don't have a clear picture. And so, we'll talk about doing like a monthly dashboard, looking at your numbers every month so that you have a really clear picture of where you are and where you need to be.
So
Very good.
there are a ton of examples there. So let's go ahead and just have you capture your thinking. What's working and what's not working? What's your biggest challenge? What would you like to improve on your profitability? I'll give you about 10 more seconds to complete that. All right, let's go to the next quadrant, which is team. These are the people that help you take great care of your clients, take great care of your referral sources, and really take great care of you as far as supporting you and what you're great at. One of the things I always joke about is if you're world's greatest surgeon, and we get paid handsomely for you doing surgery, what do we want you doing every day? And a lot of lawyers, if they are the best at what they do, only spend about 10 to 15% of their time doing that thing. So I'm going to encourage you to think about, okay, what do I have to do to build a team that supports me in doing what I'm the best at? So what's working right now with your team? Maybe that you took them virtually and they were terrific virtually. And then what do you think your biggest challenge will be between now and the end of the year with your team? So go ahead and work on that exercise.
Daniel, Denise, you guys, if you would, again, what are you seeing for most people? As people are writing this exercise out, what are you seeing with most people about what's working and what's not working when they're going into the PGP, the Practice Growth Program?
I think the biggest thing is if they're keeping score, like the scorecards that we use to help our clients with, if they're tracking the productivity of their staff, that works. If they're really paying attention to what their staff is doing and the work that they're producing and measuring that, always measuring that and having goals set for everybody. And so that seems to work really well. It's when they're not really paying attention to that, or attorneys tend to struggle to delegate, that's where they struggle with their team sometimes.
Very good.
So if you, Mark, anything else you guys want to add before we get them to complete this?
No, I'm good.
So let's go ahead and write that down where you feel like, what's working and your biggest challenge so we can complete that. I'll give you about 10 seconds to finish that up. Wonderful. So you just done some thinking around the 4 foundations for growth. What we'd like you to do is where it says the year ahead. What I'd like you to think about is if you were going to have a fantastic year ahead, which will include, let's just say 1 year from now, between 2020 and 2021, July of 2021, what would your primary focus be based on the exercise that you've just done? Would it be improving your marketing skills? Would it be improving your profitability skills? Would it be working on all 4? What would your focus be?
So Steve, I write that right to the right of the year ahead?
Yes, just thank you, Mark, right for the year ahead. And then once you kind of figure out what that is, then let's just pick 2 goals on the bottom left-hand corner to support that. So what would be 2 goals to support that? So for example, for me, it'd be, let's just say, getting new clients in the door would be my primary focus for 2020 and 2021. My goals would be to get, number 1, figure out who my best referral sources are, and 2, double that. That might be my 2 goals for that. The obstacles for me would be, well, I've never tracked my referral sources before, so I got to figure out how do I do that. I feel a little overwhelmed as I am, so I've got to improve my time management. I got to find some time to do that. Another obstacle might be that my team doesn't want to track referral sources, and maybe my case management system doesn't track referral sources. So what would be the biggest changes, which would be your next box to the right to help you do that? And what are the actions that you want to take to move that forward in your practice? What are those actions that you want to take? So this is just a very simple planning sprint, a very simple thinking sprint that allows you to kind of get a framework around the 4 foundations, assess how you're doing, come up with an action plan, a really brief action plan, and think about how you want to move forward with these particular goals, with particular obstacles that are in the way that you want to solve, and the changes you want to make, the action plan that you want to take. So I'm just going to give you 30 seconds to try and it's just a sprint. You can always work some more on this after we're done with the webinar. There's no time restriction on thinking, just time restriction on the exercise. Ten more seconds to complete it. Fantastic. So great work. So for the past 15 minutes, more or less, we did a real quick planning sprint around the 4 foundations. You've got Daniel, Denise, and Mark adding on some of their thoughts about this. So good work. Congratulations on this. Mark, anything that you want to say about this before we move further?
Yeah, Steve, I'd love to see, I'd like to hear some of their insights.
That'd be great. Would you like
through this?
Yeah, would you like to do that? Have them post it in the chat room, or would you like?
Yeah, I think that's perfect. That's perfect, Steve.
Okay, or you can unmute yourself and raise your hand, and we can actually talk to you about it, which would be pretty cool. So either way, what we're going to request is either you raise your hand to unmute yourself and talk to us about it, or you post in the chat room, and you could post what we're looking for, any insights or thoughts that came out of this exercise for you.
And Steve, I'm going to suggest let's get those in there that if it works for you, Mike can capture those and read them after they come in. By the way, Mike, has anybody got their hands up just so we know we don't step over them?
No, not at this time.
Okay, good. Mike, as you see those come in, you want to jump in, go ahead. Steve, do we want to move to the next phase?
Yeah, let's go ahead and move. So the question then becomes, is the Practice Growth Program Livestream a right fit for you? Mark, would you like to talk for a few minutes about this?
The answer is yes. No. You know, it really is this, Steve. If you put up I think the next slide is just a reminder. There shouldn't be any question for any of us. Listen, if you wanted to get in shape and really be in good shape at wherever you are in your life and your age, you would probably hire a very good trainer for you to do that. If you wanted to break 75 in golf, you'd probably hire a good pro. If you wanted to become strong in a particular instrument, you'd probably hire a good music teacher that can guide you, direct you, and give you the accountability to make that happen. It's no different here. If you're committed to having extraordinary practice, one that truly serves your life, one that truly makes a difference in the community at a whole other level from where you are today, the Practice Growth Program is the place to be. Now, the question for you is whether you do the classic version or the live stream version. And Steve, we can open it up for questions after that, but maybe we could go to the website, talk to them a little bit about the registration process, if they're clear, or do we want to see if there's any questions before we do that?
Yeah, let's go ahead and check in and see if there's any questions. I'll have to stop the presentation, Mark, to pull up the website.
Okay.
So I can do that. Let me just make sure that let me talk just for a moment. The start of the program is scheduled to start August 20th. 2020. So that's our first work day. That's our first that's our first work day. And Denise, why don't you go ahead and if you're up for it, would you mind talking about the challenges of the program while I go ahead and pause the presentation and pull up the website? Would that be okay?
Yeah, absolutely. So really it focuses on the 4 fundamentals Steve spoke about at the beginning of the webinar: the time management, the marketing, client selection, staffing, great team, cash flow, and profitability. And so the challenges are to increase your gross revenues. This is in the first year. So after 12 months of being in the program, increase your gross revenues by 30 to 35%. The big one too is decrease your time in the office by 20%. Okay, and then the fee per file. So taking a look at each file and increasing the fee per file by 15 to 20%. And then a couple other challenges that we have. By the end of the 12 months, we want you to be ready to double your revenues. And the reason it's a 12-month thing to double your revenues, you want to make sure that you have the infrastructure in place. If you doubled your revenues tomorrow, would your firm collapse? And so we want to make sure that you have all those solid fundamentals and core systems in place so you can double your revenues. And the last one is to just implement the key systems that we talk about. Those are the 5 challenges for the Practice Growth Program.
Yeah, that's perfect, Denise. Thank you. And I just want to be clear, they're the challenges and not the requirements.
Exactly.
And so the quality of your practice is directly correlated to the questions you ask about your practice. And so that's one of the important things, is that you really are going to have more powerful outcomes if you're asking the more powerful questions. So that's why we phrase these in the ways of challenges. Mark, I'm going to check and make sure that I'm showing the right screen up on my.
You are. You're going through the investment and the website investment question.
So this is right off our website. I went directly to our website, and Mike will post the link into the chat box about this. So you can go directly and check this out. But this is basically the investment or pricing for the different programs. So the Livestream program, as Mark said, your initial investment is $1,000. And it's $995 per month from that point on, and $295 for your key team member or team leader if you're bringing them. The Classic's more investment up front, $2,000. And then, of course, there's a Deluxe program. Now, I'll just talk a little bit about the Deluxe because we do have some clients that go into this. Some of our clients, I would say probably Denise, Daniel, I'd say probably about 20% of our clients, maybe more, in the Dominate Your Market program, in addition to investing into the program, into the monthly program. Into the group program, will also invest into working with a private one-on-one coach. Now, that's not my recommendation for you when you start working with us. I think you really want to be in a position where you want to start learning how to implement the foundations of growth in your practice. I would think you should be in a position to start wrapping your brain around how to make changes and progress. I would not invest into a personal coach immediately and the Practice Growth Program. That's my personal bias, though. That's my personal bias. So really, the benefits for each program is very similar. I mean, you're going to get the same benefits between the Livestream and the Classic. We're pretty much right down the line for each of the particular benefits. The only major distinction between the Livestream and the Classic versus the Deluxe is you don't get to work with one of the practice advisors one-on-one. And of course, as we said earlier, the Livestream is just that. It's a virtual program where you get to attend via Zoom, and it requires no travel. You still get the same community experience. You still get the same experience of interacting with other like-minded lawyers, and you get the same curriculum, only kind of structured a little bit differently to make it more palatable via virtual environment. Mark, anything else you'd like me to say about this or share or talk about?
No, not at all, Steve. You did a good job.
Okay, Denise, Daniel, did I miss anything from your perspectives? Okay, great. So I'm going to talk for a minute about how to register for the program. Obviously, if you got a question or a concern or you're not sure about something, Daniel and Denise are your points of contact. We're going to ask them to make sure they follow up with each and every one of you. You really are just true professionals and have helped so many of our clients out and really made a huge difference for people. So if you're like, I got a question, I'm not sure about this, I'm not sure about that, then I've got a question about this or blah, 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 whatever it may be, it doesn't matter. Talk to them first. If you're not, if you don't have a question, you're like, I'm ready to go, then you can register directly here. We're at our website, Atticus Advantage, what we do, coaching programs, practice growth program, apply. Now, one of the things that will be clear, Mark began the conversation with, do you qualify? And so we do have concerns. One of the things that can really mess up a practice growth program or any of our coaching programs is letting anyone in the door. And so it has to be a right fit for you and a right fit for us. So you have to be the type of person that's a contributor. You have to have basically batteries included. There's some people in life that don't have batteries included. You have to have certain income requirements, certain staffing requirements. Denise, do you want to talk for a minute about some of the qualifications for the practice growth program?
Yeah. So when we look at the qualifications, we want you to have a staff person because we are going to request that you start delegating. We want that staff person to be profitable for you. And the way to do that is to delegate to that person. So we do ask with the practice growth program that you have somebody, you're going to think we're nuts for putting you in the program, for telling you to delegate. And so a lot of people may not start out with one, but within the first 90 days of being in practice growth program, they've hired somebody. The income qualifications, the 100,000 in revenue. So we want to make sure that you're at a specific point to where you can afford the program. We also want you to be coachable. So are you going to listen? And yes.
Just to be clear, 100,000 in personal income, right?
Personal income, I'm sorry, yes. So that's what you're taking home. And so that's another reason to have a good grasp on that profitability in your firm. And we want you to be coachable. So, we want to make sure that you will go out and do what we're requesting of you, because that's how you will be successful. And so we would just request that you're coachable. Did I hit them all?
I believe so. Okay. It's important. I mean, the coachability is important, and Daniel, Denise are very, very particular about who gets in the program. As Mark said, we'd like to see at least 100,000 at minimum, $100,000 net income. So we know that you at least know how to do that, and we can teach you how to make more, but we need to know that you know how to do that. You can actually operate decently. Mark, anything you want to add before I go back to the PowerPoint presentation?
No, I think we can go back, Steve. As you're going back, I'll just tell people that if you're saying, well, geez, I'm not there yet, talk to Daniel or Denise. They will be able to find the support. If it's just marketing, they can get you support. They can find some help for you. But if you're at that place and you're ready to stabilize, this is the Practice Growth Program, and especially the live stream is for you. It's going to make a great difference. So we said it starts August 20th. It has 2 extraordinary facilitators that are practicing attorneys, and they're adjunct practice advisors, and they're creative and powerful and great facilitators. That's Mark Metzger. You'll see their bios on the website, Mark Metzger and Victor Medina. Steve, can we go to the next slide? Are you okay talking about this next thing?
Sure. I just want to add one thing about Victor and Mark. So there's no one in our organization that I think I would trust more to coach my dearest friends than Mark Metzger and Victor Medina. They are both fantastic lawyers and care tremendously about their clients, but most importantly, I want you guys clear about this that are listening. They practice law first. And so they've got the street cred and the street experience of how to grow a law practice. And both of them have clients for in excess of a decade. So these are incredibly talented, incredibly experienced, and incredibly successful lawyers. Mark has got a background in litigation and has built a fantastic real estate practice. And Victor has an interesting background, but currently he does estate planning, elder law with a financial planning practice attached to his practice. A pretty innovative guy. So I just want to kind of add that on, because if I'm looking as a lawyer, who am I working with? These are lawyers. They're in the street, in the trench every single day. These guys they're the real deal. So Mark, you ready? I'm going to move to the next slide. We'll make sure you can see it. Okay, great.
So Steve and I talked this over. And here's what we're going to do. If you are on this webinar and you are going to do the virtual Practice Growth Program, the first 10 people, so we know who you are on the webinar, but the first 10 of you who register will receive $1,000 your initial investment will be waived of $1,000, meaning your first payment will be due in August and it'll be your monthly payment. So we will keep that offer open until July 8th. If you're listening to this webinar as a recording and you're hearing it before July 8th, it's still okay. If the 10 slots, the waivers of the down payment isn't already taken, and it's still available, you'll be able to get it. I would just check in with Denise or Daniel to find out if there's one available for you. And then in August, you'll have your first payment. The other thing that we'll say about this is that we're incredibly confident about the results we produce and the experience we create, so that even if we waive that investment and you do pay your initial and you go through the first session, you go through the experience of what we're going to do in August, and at the end of August, you say, you know what, Mark and Steve, I don't think they said it just right, or it doesn't fit for me. Cancel, walk away, we'll refund your first payment, and that'll be it. But if you're there and you get through August, you're ours and we're yours. We're committed. Matter of fact, as soon as you sign up, we consider you ours to get results. We are not going to let go. We are going to do extraordinary things to create value and get results. And the other side, we want you to know that we are yours and we have all the resources and the things that we need to help you. So Steve, I'll leave it with that. People, I'll see anything else that you want to say?
Yeah, just one brief thing. You may be at a point where you're not sure whether this works for you or doesn't work for you. The only thing I can do is reference on our website. We have a whole series of plays called Success Stories, and there's a link, and Mike will also post it in the chat box. And it has, I don't know how many different testimonials up there, including video testimonials of some of our clients. So if you're not sure whether it's a good fit for you, I would invite you to also go check it out there and see what people, existing clients say about how this program made a difference and how this program has helped. And as we draw to a close, I just want to say thanks. Thanks for investing the time. Thanks for trusting us. Thanks for investing your early afternoon before a holiday weekend with us. And Daniel, Denise, Mark, thanks for taking the time out of your schedule to talk to people about making a bigger future for themselves and seeing what we can do to help lawyers make a difference. And at the end of the day, that's really what most lawyers want to do. They want to make a difference. They want to contribute to their clients. And they really can't do that without improving their business skills. They can't do that more effectively without learning how to be better at doing this, meaning this being growing, thinking, building. So with that, I'm just going to check in to see if there's any questions anybody has before we draw it to a close, or any final comments from my colleagues here. And Mike, I'm just going to check with you, see if we've got any questions.
We've got one hand raised from Leanne. So Leanne, I'm going to unmute you at this time, and you can be heard by the entire group.
Thank you. Listen, you guys, this was fabulous. Denise has been one of the hardest people out there. She's been chasing me and putting up with me for, I don't know, 3 years now, Denise? I think 3 years. So she's
at least.
And maybe longer, sorry. I just want to say this was very informative. And I appreciate your time. I did have a question. When you say we're going to start August 20th and we have one, we do something every month, what does that August 20th look like? Is that a full day? Is that an afternoon? What, just as an idea for scheduling?
Mark, you want me to do this?
No, I'll take this, Steve, if you're okay. Sure. So when we say the 20th, that's your first work day. So it's live streaming.
Okay.
It's not the beginning of your program, because as soon as you register, we're doing a diagnostic on you. We're getting you working. We're getting you moving long before you get to that first work day. We're setting you up with accountability partners. So a lot of stuff is happening to get you moving. But when you're there, right now, that is a half day. We start at 1:30 and we finish at 6 p.m. And we're going through a number of things, but it's very interactive. It's designed to not have you have Zoom or live stream fatigue. So that's the time frame.
Okay, thank you. And really, kudos to Denise, honest.
We agree.
So thank
Steve,
you.
we're at 4 o'clock.
Okay, great. So I'll just check in, Mike. Do you have any other questions?
We have one question typed in. I just on what you were just talking about, Mark, the day after their work day, you call that an implementation day, correct? So are we asking them to set that day aside to implement what they were working on, the new strategies and goals the previous day?
Yeah, that's perfect. So while we say that the work day is that afternoon on the 20th, when you get into the program, we're going to recommend that you block off a good chunk of the 21st, not to be on Zoom, but to connect with your team, to get things moving, and to implement some of the things you're working on, rather than wait to a full week before you actually start it. So we actually block out time in your life, in your calendar, to get things moving.
Okay.
That next day.
Our question is simply, they wanted to know about the option for personal coaching. And I had replied back to that person individually that our one-on-one coaching program, which we call Practicum, is working directly with an advisor. And the investment in that varies depending upon the advisor and how often you work with them every month. Is there anything else you'd like to say about our one-on-one coaching?
What I would say is talk to Denise or Daniel, because they'll be able to walk them through a couple of things. Number one, what's the right fit for them? And if it's one-on-one, what are the different options they have? Because as you said, Mike, they do vary depending on what they're looking for in a one-on-one coach.
Okay, that's it. That's all the questions that have been sent in. Thank every one of you on the panel today. Mark or Steve, is there anything you'd like to say to close it out?
No, just thank you. Denise, Daniel, Mark, thank you. And thanks for everyone for taking the time and investing the time into our webinar this afternoon. And I hope it was a useful investment of your time. With that, happy July 4th and stay safe, everybody. Thank you, Mike.
Hi, everyone. Great job, Steve.